Today I'm doing a tutorial for a Rhodes Piano-esque patch, inspired by the song Everything in Its Right Place by Radiohead. It'll sound something like this. Let's get right into it because this patch has a lot going on and utilizes some of the S1's more hidden features. So first we're going to open up a initialize patch. Starting with the oscillators, let's set the range to 4, the pulse wave to right around 190. The saw we're going to want to set all the way up to 255, and then the sub about halfway to, let's say, 135. Then we're just going to add a slight pitch wobble using the LFO and set it at 11. Doesn't sound bad, but it is far from finished. So we're actually going to go into the draw functionality of the S1, and what this draw functionality lets us do is replace the pulse wave with whatever wave we want to draw in. We're going to want to set the switch parameter to slope. The options are stepped or slope, and that will just determine if the waveform is sloped or stepped, of course. Then under form, here's where we actually draw the waves. The values go from -100 to 100. And I'll put the values up on the screen, but basically what we want is positive 100 here, positive 100 here. Then we're going to go down to -50, -25, 0, or actually -2. And then we're going to go up to 40. This one a little up, right around 59. And then this one 75, great. Then we're going to have 5 100s in a row. And then we're actually going down to -100 for this third to last, then -75, and then up to around -40 or -42 is what I find works best. And I'll put those values on the screen so you can reference them easily. And so this is going to sound a little different. It sounds a little more metallic than it did before. But now we're going to go into the chop menu. We're going to set the overtone to 100, which is how much the harmonics will be emphasized. We're going to skip over the square and the saw and go to the subwave. And basically what we're going to do is just cut out the first 12 steps of this subwave. And these steps directly correlate to the wave that we drew earlier. And so for those first 12 steps of that wave, the sub will actually be cut out. And then we're actually going to go over and comb it by a factor of 12, which will make it even more metallic and repeat the pattern 12 times. You could do a similar sort of thing if you used a very fast delay, but it's not going to sound quite the same. And just so you can hear what that sounds like, it's very metallic, and you can hear that LFO on the pitch, just giving it a tiny amount of wobble. And I'm actually going to turn down the octave by 1. And so you can kind of see how this sound is shaping up. For the LFO, we're going to want to set the rate right around where it is, 37. We're going to want the shape to be a reverse saw. And we're actually going to want that LFO to be key track, so we're going to find LFO K and then just turn it on. So instead of it being free running, it's going to be triggered every time we press a key. Getting into the filter, we're actually going to want to turn on key tracking for the filter as well. We're turn it up pretty high, let's say 150, 149. The rest of the filter, we're going to want to set the frequency to 0, resonance to 0, LFO controlling the filter to 0, and then envelope controlling the filter actually all the way up to 255. And now it sounds something like this. However, of course, we now have to adjust the ADSR envelope, which will greatly change how the sound comes out. We're going to set the attack to 0. We're going to set the decay to around 160, sustain 233, pretty high, and then release also pretty high, right in the 215 sort of range. So that's going to sound like this. Getting into the effects, I don't use any delay, but I do use quite a bit of reverb. Let's put this in the 130 sort of range. All of these other settings will already be set up because of global delay and reverb. So the type I have set to Hall 2. For time, I'm going to have it set to 240. Level, I actually changed my mind. Let's turn the level up to around 200. I use a lot of reverb on the S1 because it has such good controls for modifying how the reverb actually sounds. Pre-delay, low cut, high cut, and density just give you a lot of control over what the end sound is going to be. And so pre-delay, I have set to 100. Low cut, set to 630, which is going to cut everything below 630 hertz. And then high cut, I have set to 1K, and that will just cut anything above 1,000 hertz or 1 kh. That just brings down the reverb from kind of an overwhelming sound to a much more controlled, usable musical sound. Especially when you're using kind of high reverb levels and high reverb times. Density I have set all the way to 10, which is pretty much always what I have it as. For portamento, I keep it off. However, if you do want to use it, I would keep it around 5 or lower. So just a very subtle portamento sound. You could probably go either way. I personally prefer it off. Envelope trig and amp trig I have set to the defaults, which for env trig is trig and amp trig is envelope. Getting into other effects, everything in its right place does have quite a bit of chorus on it, and I feel like a lot of Rhodes piano sounds I hear have quite a bit of chorus. However, I don't love the S1's chorus, and so if I were to use this, I would either have it on off or on the standard chorus effect, which is 1. 2, 3, and 4 have a bit more modulation, but really it's kind of just whatever your preference is. And if you're planning on programming in the sequence for everything in its right place, you're going to want the BPM at 124. Now let's just compare the patches. For this tutorial, I'm not going to go note by note and read out everything and for each step. However, I will scroll through, so if you want to copy it down to your own S1, please do. So here we go. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you found this useful. I hope you learned a little bit about the draw and chop functionalities that the S1 has. Let me know if you try out this patch and if you like it. Let me know if you don't like it. I hope you enjoy.